Damn.
What is up, guys? Today we have another video for you, and it's the same day that I actually just picked up my splitter, but I'm making a separate video for the splitter install as well as painting my radiator. So today we have the mechanic shirt on, we've got the shop dog in, we're gonna be installing a splitter and painting the radiator. Let's get it. So we're going to be painting the radiator before we install the splitter, and the first step in painting the radiator is taking the front bumper off. Now, I did do the grill delete a couple videos back, and if you haven't seen that, go ahead and click on the channel and go check that video out, because it's actually pretty interesting seeing the before and after results. But I've already taken the front bumper off previously, and underneath there is a there's a splash guard that holds about 15 to 17 bolts, I believe, and those are already removed. So for me, taking the front bumper off is as simple as just undoing the 6 or 8 bolts on the top, and then there are some clips in the wheel well, and then just pulling the front bumper off. So the splash guard's already taken off, but if you guys haven't taken that off, there's going to be about 15 to 17 bolts, I believe, that are under the car, which you're gonna have to take out. And once you do those, there are going to be 8 bolts under this shroud here. This shroud's really easy to take off. You just pop these guys off and it comes off. But I'll show you guys all the steps in taking the bumper off from the stages that I'm at, and then we'll get to masking off the radiator and prepping it for paint. So to start off, I don't have an actual body panel tool. I'm just gonna be using this flathead. You're gonna go ahead and pop all these clips off. There's about 8 of them, and then this is going to allow you to take the shroud off, which reveals the bolts underneath for the top of the bumper. And with all 8 of those clips off, we can remove the shroud and place it in a safe area. And then we're going to have some of these bolts here that we got to take out. So we're going to go ahead and use this 8mm to take off the 8 bolts that are on top here, and this is going to free up the top of the bumper. And from here, we're going to go to the wheel wells, take out those pins, and we're going to be good to go with taking the front bumper off. Alright, so all the screws are off, all the clips are off, and we're good to go. We're going to take the bumper off now and mask off the radiator. Now, I did forget to mention that you do have to unclip your fogs and blinkers because there's some wires connected. A couple of them you just twist and pull out, like the blinker there, but then the other 2 you have to pinch the clip for it to release. But once you do that, bumper is going to come completely off. So I went ahead and I masked off somewhat of the area I'm going to be spraying around. I didn't mask off too much on the inside, just considering a lot of it's already black and a lot of it you won't be able to see. But like the top part where the shroud's going to meet up at, I taped off, and then the bash guard in the front here, or the bash bumper, bash bar, whatever you want to call it. And then I also taped off these supporting bars here. And down here not so much, because like I said, you can't see it, and there's not a lot down here to really mask off anyways. So we're going to be painting mostly the top and then obviously the bottom part as well. What we have here is the VHT, it's roll bar or chassis paint, but it's rated for up to 250 degrees. Let's get it focused. And you want to find something that is rated for up to around 300 degrees, because your radiator can get up to those temperatures. So once you do that, you're just going to want to shake it up really well before you apply to the radiator. So the first coat's applied. This stuff's pretty easy to paint on where other paints drip. As you can see, it's already pretty much black. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do 3 coats of this. So we're gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes, do another coat, get heavier as we go with the spraying. But first coat's laid on, and while that's drying, we're gonna kind of figure out how we're gonna install the splitter to the bumper with the sprayer splash guard over there. Right now what I'm doing is I'm kind of just trying to figure out where exactly the splitter is gonna sit with the bumper in the splash guard. So what I've come to the realization is that I should fit the splitter to the splash guard to the bumper while it's already off the car. Do the drilling here so that I don't have to put the car really up on jack stands necessarily. I mean, I'm gonna have to put the car up on jacks when I install it, but to figure out where the drilling and holes are, I might as well just do it off of the car. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm trying to figure out where the holes are with kind of just lining up the bumper. Kind of sketchy because I'm like free balling it, but I'm gonna take the bumper off now and align the splash guard to the splitter, which is the main lineup. And then obviously I'm going to set the bumper down where the holes line up in terms of drilling. If you guys didn't know, the splash guard drills into the bumper so that it supports the bumper. So that's what I'm trying to line up right now. So then I can line up the splash guard to the splitter and it'll all be perfectly aligned. So in theory it should be lined up and work out, but we're gonna see. It looks pretty lined right now. The supporting rods we're gonna put on once everything's lined up, and then we're gonna do the drilling for it. I'm gonna put the supporting rods in the bumper because the screws are gonna have to go behind the bumper, so the bumper has to be off the car. But we're gonna line it up first, get all the holes drilled, and then we're gonna put the supporting rods on. So what I went ahead and did was lined up the bumper with the splash guard here, and I made 4 holes. So I made 2 on this side, 2 on that side, and then I also made holes in the front here that are gonna be lining up with the pins. So I'm not exactly sure if the screws or pins are gonna be going in there, but we're gonna figure it out once the bumper's on. Now what I'm gonna do is line up where I want the supporting rods and make the drills into the actual front bumper here, so that when I put the bumper on, I can just drill the supporting rods into the splitter, hook it up, and we're good to go. Alright, we've got the first strut installed. So what I went ahead and did was I drilled a hole on the bottom bumper here. So basically I lined up where I wanted the struts to be in terms of alignment with the fangs. And what I found out is that with the side struts that come with the splitter, you can't really line it up perfectly. But what I went ahead and did was I got some masking tape and kind of stuck off exactly where the line meets with these fangs in the grill, and masked it off, and I went ahead and I drilled on the bottom. So when I drilled on the bottom, the end piece, we'll get the other strut or supporting rod. The end piece here goes into that hole, and then this nut on the other side is going to come on the other side and tighten down this supporting rod. So I'm going to come around to the other back side of this bumper here so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. You have to pull off this guard here. It's just a couple clips. It's really easy to take off. And then that's where the hole and the screw comes up, and you can see the nut tighten down right there. So that's what's holding the supporting rod in. And I didn't know that these supporting rods were actually adjustable. So when you get the supporting rod in place and bolted down with the nut, you can tighten this and it makes it super secure. So I haven't bolted it obviously down to the splitter quite yet, but we're gonna go ahead and do the other side, and then once that's done, we're gonna be able to put this whole bumper back onto the car and then put the splash guard and splitter on it as well. Now that we got both supporting rods on the bumper, we're putting the bumper back on before we can put the splitter and splash guard on. So same thing, but in reverse. We're just putting the bolts on, and then we're gonna put the clips and the wheel wells back on. And then after that, we're gonna put the splash guard and put a couple of the clips from the back in, and then we're gonna screw in simultaneously the splitter and the splash guard to the bottom of the bumper. Should be good. And then from there, we're gonna drill out some holes for the splitter supporting rods, and we will be done. You guys can already see the radiator is black now. It's not like substantially different. I guess if you had a side-to-side picture, you could tell, but the fins in between are still silver, but for the most part it's black. Hopefully it won't stand out as much as it was before, but blacked out radiator and splitter will be done super soon. Okay, so before the camera dies and before we drop the car, instead of using the factory bolts that came with the splash guard, we bought self-drilling screws and put about 10 of them into the bottom here. Self-tapping screws, there we go. Put about 10 to 12 of them in the bottom here with some washers, and this locked down the splitter more so than just using the factory strut, than the factory screws that came with the splash guard. And then we went ahead and finished off with drilling the struts into the splitter as well. Alright, we are back, guys. The camera died last night as I was showing you guys the bottom of the splitter and the installation, and it was quite dark out, so I figured I would show you guys more in depth on what I did to actually put the splitter attaching it to the splash guard, because it's a lot harder than it seems. In total, this took me about 5 hours from removing the bumper to actually having the supporting rods on. So I figured I'd just go step by step and telling you guys kind of overviewing what I did with the splitter install. So obviously you got to take the front bumper off, and I went through the bolts and the clips that you have to take off for that. After that, I lined up the bumper with the splash guard on top of the splitter, and what that does is allows you to line up the two side bolts. So there's two bolts on the side of your bumper here that connected to the splash guard. So there's about one there and about one there, and that's on both sides. So once you get those guys lined up, then you can line up the front ones. But I lined it up off, so it didn't come out correct. So what I ended up doing was I took about 15 self-tapping screws, and I just took washers and I screwed them in about 15 different areas, which I think really supports the splitter well. And in terms of support, these struts also support it fairly well too. These are really sturdy, and I got those on there with some lock washers and some thread lock as well. So this thing's pretty sturdy and it's pretty on here. In terms of durability, I've taken it on the freeway going about 75 just to see how it'll do, and it's still on here. I've scraped it a couple times, and it's doing pretty good. So I'm really happy with the product. Install was a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. It took about 5 hours, but if I can do it, that means anyone can do it, really. So I'm going to give you guys a couple looks, or I guess angles, on what the splitter looks like. I decided to go with the silver rods instead of the like carbon looking rods, because I feel like the silver will stand out with the color of the car, and I kind of wanted it to stand out, so it gives it that more aggressive look. It's kind of hard to see the splitter dead on, like, you know, dead front, center, whatever you want to call it, but once you get up close you can see that there's a splitter and it looks pretty aggressive. This one sticks out a decent amount. On the sides not so much, which is good, but in the front it sticks out probably at the most 3.5 inches here and about 3 inches in the very front. So it's a pretty aggressive looking splitter, and especially with the grill delete as well as the blacked out radiator, I'd say it looks pretty aggressive. So that is it for the splitter install and the blacked out radiator. I just want to thank Tony once again for making this splitter and doing such a good job on the quality of the product. And the installation, it was a little tricky because there was no template for lining up the bumper to the splitter, but with some patience and somewhat knowledge of measurement, you could probably get it. So if you guys have any questions on the install, I know it's kind of hard to do an install and record when you're troubleshooting, but I somewhat explained it to you guys. So if you have any questions, comment down below and I will get back to you guys. If you guys are looking for a splitter for your S550s or for your Subaru WRXs, I believe he makes them for Blob Hawkeyes, and he also makes them for the new like 15, 16 body styles. And if you have a Lexus IS 300, he also makes diffusers for them. So go check him out on Instagram, Down4Solutions, and I will see you guys on the next one. Adios.